She got pregnant in Itoh grade, and her parents kicked her out of the house. 20 years later, they decided to visit their daughter and grandson, but what they saw shocked them. I paid my brother's medical bills after his accident. He promised to pay me back when he got his settlement. When the check cleared, he bought a jet ski and a gold chain. I asked about my share. He said, "You're not broke. Stop acting pressed." I filed a lien against his bank account. He called it family betrayal. I called it collection. I'm 42 years old, living in Dayton, Ohio. I've been a mechanic most of my life, running my own small shop. It's nothing fancy, but it keeps the lights on. I bought my house 12 years ago, still paying down the mortgage, but it's mine. I've never had much extra. I've always had to work for everything I have. My younger brother, Kyle, is 35. Kyle's always been different from me. Growing up, he was the wild one. He partied, skipped class, hung out with the wrong crowd. He was the kind of guy who'd buy a new gadget before paying rent. Every family's got one, right? The sibling you love, but damn if they don't test you. Our parents died in a car accident when I was 27, Kyle was 20. I stepped up, helped him finish school, co-signed his first apartment. Even when he dropped out of community college, I didn't hold it against him. I figured he'd find his way eventually. Fast forward to last year. Kyle was still bouncing between jobs. Bartender, rideshare driver, warehouse work. He never stayed anywhere long. He had a motorcycle he loved more than anything. He used to call it his freedom. Then one night last July, I got the call. He'd been in a crash. A truck had cut him off at an intersection. Witnesses said Kyle tried to swerve but wiped out. He wasn't wearing a helmet. I rushed to Miami Valley Hospital. He was in bad shape. Broken leg, crushed wrist, busted ribs, concussion. He looked small in that hospital bed, hooked up to machines. The doctor told me he'd be okay, but it'd be a long recovery. And then the billing person came. That's when I found out Kyle had no insurance. "Your brother said he opted out," the woman told me. "He signed a waiver when he left his last job." Of course, he did. I didn't think twice. I applied for a personal loan the next day, $38,500. It was the only way to cover the surgery, hospital stay, and physical therapy. I signed the papers without blinking. When Kyle woke up, I sat by his bed. "You're gonna be all right," I told him. "I took care of everything." He grabbed my hand, tears in his eyes. "You saved me, man. I swear to God, as soon as that settlement comes in, I'll pay you back. Every penny." I believed him. The driver who hit him was found 100% at fault. Kyle's lawyer said he could get a solid settlement. 6 figures easy, he told us. It made me feel better. I knew I'd get my money back. In the meantime, I kept helping. I drove him to physical therapy twice a week. I paid his rent the months he couldn't work. Covered his utilities so he wouldn't lose power. Every time he thanked me, I just said, "You do the same for me." But deep down, I wasn't sure he would. 8 months passed. His lawyer finally called, the checks being processed. Kyle was excited. "Bro, I'm finally gonna hook you up. I got you." The day the check cleared, I waited for his call. Nothing. That night, I checked his Instagram. There he was, standing by a shiny new jet ski. Caption: "Summer just got real." I stared at that screen, my stomach twisting. Next post. Kyle flashing a thick gold chain. Caption: "When you level up 100 points." I sat down at my kitchen table, my hands shaking. I called him straight to voicemail. Texted him. "Hey, man, congrats. When are we settling up?" No reply. The next day, I called again. This time he answered, "What's up?" He said, like nothing was wrong. "I saw your posts," I said. "Looks like you're celebrating. When are you paying me back?" He laughed. "Bro, you're not broke. Stop acting pressed over money." I blinked. "Excuse me. You've got your house, your shop. You're good. Don't worry, I'll get you something later." "Chill." Something inside me snapped. "You promised me," I said quietly. "Yeah. And I'll handle it." You're making this weird. I took out a loan for you, Kyle. I didn't tell you to, he snapped. You offered. That's on you. I hung up. I couldn't even process it. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, the weight of that debt pressing down on me. I thought about every shift I'd picked up, every weekend I'd spent working overtime to stay ahead. And how he was out there, riding a jet ski with a gold chain around his neck. The next morning, I called my buddy Dave. He's a lawyer. I told him everything. You've got proof he promised to repay? Dave asked. I've got texts and the bills in my name. Dave was quiet for a minute. We can file a lien. You'd have to sue him first, but you've got a strong case. It wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want to drag my brother to court, but he left me no choice. We filed. Served him. When he got the papers, my phone blew up. What the F? I asked this, he texted. He called. I picked up. You really suing me? He yelled. You left me no choice, I said. You're gonna ruin me. You ruined yourself, I said. He called me a traitor. A snake. Told me I'd lost my only family. I didn't respond. The lien froze $32,000 in his account. He had to sell the jet ski to cover other debts. I haven't heard from him since. I still make the loan payments every month, but now, at least, I'm not drowning alone. And somehow, I still miss him. I thought it was over. After the lien froze Kyle's account, after he sold the jet ski, after he stopped calling, I figured that was the end of it. We'd go our separate ways. I get what I could, he'd move on, and maybe in a few years we'd talk again. But I should have known better. About 3 weeks after the lien hit, I started getting weird phone calls at the shop. Blocked numbers. Hang-ups. Then one day, some guy came in, looking around like he owned the place. He leaned on the counter, smirking. You Kyle's brother? He asked. Who's asking? I said, name's Tony. He told me to tell you. You're a cold-ass dude. He laughed, shook his head, then walked out. That night, my truck windshield was smashed. Nothing stolen. Just shattered glass everywhere. I didn't want to believe Kyle had anything to do with it. But then I got the voicemail. Yo, Kyle said, his voice slurred. You think you can F me over and just keep living like normal? Watch yourself, bro. I sat there, listening to it over and over. I wasn't scared, but I was tired. So damn tired. I called Dave, played him the voicemail. File a police report, Dave said. And get cameras up at the shop. I did both. Filed the report, bought 2 cameras, set them up inside and outside. 2 nights later, the cameras caught someone spray painting rat across my garage door. Hoodie mask. Couldn't see the face, but I knew. Kyle was unraveling, and he wanted to drag me down with him. A few days later, my aunt called. Kyle came by, she said. Cried to me. Said you're trying to ruin his life. Said you tricked him into signing something. I sighed. I didn't trick him. He owes me, Aunt Sheila. I'm just getting what's mine. She paused. I know. But honey, he's family. Maybe let it go. I gripped the phone tighter. Did he tell you about the jet ski? The chain? The Instagram posts? Silence. Didn't think so, I said, and hung up. More families started calling. Cousins. Old family friends. All of them feeding off Kyle's version of the story. One cousin even posted about it on Facebook, calling me greedy and heartless. Every time, I wanted to scream. Every time, I thought about blasting the truth online. Posting the receipts, the texts, the hospital bills, but I didn't. Instead, I kept going to work, kept paying the loan, kept waiting for Kyle to come to his senses. But then came the twist I didn't see coming. A sheriff showed up at my door with papers. Kyle's filed a countersuit, he said. Claims you exploited him while he was incapacitated. I stared at the papers numb. He's accusing me of fraud? I asked. Looks that way, the sheriff said. I called Dave again. Told him everything. He's trying to drag this out, Dave said. Make you burn through money on lawyers. He doesn't have a leg to stand on legally, but it's gonna cost you. I sat down at the kitchen table again, same spot I'd sat in the night I saw that jet ski. I felt the anger again, hot, deep. But underneath it? Disappointment. He wasn't just avoiding responsibility anymore. He was trying to make me the villain. You still want to go through with this? Dave asked. I looked at the papers again. My own brother, suing me for fraud. Yeah, I said. We're going through with it. We went to court. First hearing was a disaster. Kyle showed up wearing sunglasses and that same gold chain, acting like he was the victim. His lawyer, some cocky guy fresh out of law school, spun a wild story about how took financial advantage of his vulnerable state. I sat there listening, barely able to believe it. He wasn't just fending the truth, he was flat out lying. My lawyer, Dave, kept calm. He laid out the receipts. The text from Kyle saying, "I'll pay you back." The bank record showing the hospital bills I paid. The judge didn't make a ruling that day. She said she needed time to review everything. Outside the courthouse, Kyle walked up to me, smirked. "You're gonna regret this," he said under his breath. "They're all seeing who you really are now." I looked him dead in the eye. "Same to you." Over the next few weeks, things got worse. I started getting bad reviews on my shop's Google page. Fake names, fake complaints. Scammer, liar, overcharges customers. I knew exactly where it was coming from. A week later, a code inspector showed up at the garage. Someone had reported unsafe conditions. I had to shut down for 3 days while they went through every inch of the place. Nothing was wrong, but I lost business. I told Dave. "He's trying to bleed you out," Dave said. "Make you crack." But I didn't crack. Then the real bomb dropped. I got a letter from a collections agency. Kyle had listed me as a co-signer on a credit card application without my knowledge. He'd racked up $12,000 on it. Jewelry stores, bars, online gambling. I sat at my desk, holding that letter, my hands shaking. I called the agency. "I never signed anything," I told them. "We have an application with your name," they said. I demanded a copy. When it arrived, I saw it, my name, but not my handwriting. Kyle had forged my signature. That was it. That was the last straw. I filed a police report. Identity theft, forgery. When Kyle found out, he left me a voicemail. His voice sounded broken. "You really called the cops on me?" he said. "You really want to see me locked up?" I didn't reply. I forwarded the voicemail to Dave and the detective. The detective called me the next day. "We're opening a case," he said. "He's not making this easy for you." No kidding. Meanwhile, the court case dragged on. Kyle's lawyer filed delays, motions, anything to slow it down. My legal fees piled up. I had to tap into my savings, then a second credit card. Friends stopped calling. Family stopped inviting me to things. Every time I heard my phone buzz, I wondered what new mess was waiting. And through it all, I kept asking myself, how the hell did it come to this? He was my brother. I saved his life. I paid his bills. I took care of him. And he was willing to burn me to the ground. The court date finally came. After months of filings, delays, lawyers, and stress, we stood before the judge. Kyle still wore that gold chain, but this time he looked tired. The judge read the case summary. She laid out the evidence. My receipts, my loan documents, the texts, the forged credit card, the voicemail threats, the vandalism reports. When it was Kyle's turn, his lawyer barely had anything left to say. His whole case fell apart. The judge looked straight at Kyle. "I see a pattern of dishonesty, Mr. Riley. Not only do you owe your brother the original debt, but you've committed identity theft and fraud. I'm referring this case for criminal investigation." Kyle's mouth dropped open. His lawyer tried to object, but the judge shut it down. She ruled in my favor. Full repayment, legal fees, damages, and now criminal charges hanging over his head. I walked out of that courtroom feeling empty, not victorious, just done. But Kyle wasn't done. That night, he showed up at my house, pounding on the door, drunk, screaming. "You destroyed me," he yelled. "You ruined my life." I didn't open the door. I stood inside, holding my phone, thumb hovering over 911. He kicked the door, hard. I have nothing because of you. I dialed. Police showed up 10 minutes later. They arrested him on the spot for violating the restraining order the judge had added that day. As they cuffed him, he looked back at me. His face wasn't angry anymore. Just sad. I thought you were my brother, he mumbled. I didn't say anything. I watched them drive him away. The next few weeks were quiet. The shop started to recover. My family still didn't talk to me. I heard Kyle took a plea deal. He'd avoid jail if he entered rehab and paid restitution, but the money never came. A month later, I found out he left town. Nobody knows where he went. And me? I kept working, paid off the loan, paid the lawyer, fixed the garage door. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I made a mistake, not for making him pay, but for thinking I could ever save him in the first place.